Itsmintsalad Salad, and I saw Santa Claus 2. It is directed by Michael Lembeck, and if you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. This movie starts and we're following Scott. He is happy being a Santa Claus. I remember from last movie, he was having an identity crisis becoming Santa Claus. He's like, oh, I'm getting late. Oh, I'm not having a merry old time. Now it seems like he's perfectly fine with his position. He's very nice to all the elves, which I really appreciate. He's so human, by the way. It's so starkly human that when we have the plastic Santa come and he's not human, it's so freaking different. But I'm getting ahead of myself, okay? Scott's just having a merry old time in this position. But there's a Claus, another Claus within the last Santa Claus. A tiny Claus that takes so many magnifying glasses to even zoom and enhance this text. And this text says, you gotta get yourself a girl. You gotta get yourself a Mrs. Claus, or else your Santa Claus is gonna be up. And I'm just thinking, what happens if this Scott does not find a Santa Claus? Mrs. Claus? He is Santa Claus. If he doesn't find himself a Mrs. Claus, then he's no longer Santa Claus. Then who is Santa Claus? There are some really big stakes here. If Scott doesn't find a wife, Christmas is ruined for everyone. Massive stakes. There's a lot of pressure on him. Of course, his son, Charlie, he's like, I'm going to rebel. I'm going to spray paint on school property. And I'm just like, dude, do it somewhere else. Spray paint somewhere else. Why are you choosing specifically school property? Oh, so you can just run off, be super anonymous, and then, wow, a bunch of students are looking at this piece of artwork on the gym wall. Who could have done it? And then Charlie would just be smirking and be like, aha, yeah, I'm awesome. Look at me, I did it. No one knows that I did it. Of course, there's this principal of the school who, by the way, is really pretty. She's very pretty, and I think that Scott should go after her because she's already interacting with his son. And it seems that throughout the movie, she interacts with Charlie and more, and they develop a type of relationship. Just the tiniest of ones, okay? There could be a seed of Charlie to respect his principal as his mother. That's a little weird. How do you explain that? How do you explain that to your peers? Obviously, he's not, because when they're caught together on a date later on in the movie, because, you know, they stumble each other so many times because Charlie sucks. Charlie, you're the reason why they're dating, actually. Not to mention that Scott is trying to find a chick. I'm gonna go through their times equivalent of Tinder. Bars? Who goes to bars anymore? Tinder, Grindr is where it's at, okay? What a dumb joke. Anyway, so he goes, tries to find women, doesn't work, but he's actually developing a relationship with the principal. And I'm just like, yes, please, I need you guys to be together, or else Christmas is going to be ruined and there won't be a Santa Claus, and who will buy the presents but the parents? Also, in order to find a wife, he has to duplicate himself using the toy duplicator guy thing device in the North Pole, which exists totally for sure. It totally exists. And there's a toy Santa, and this toy Santa starts to be very picky about what the kids are doing, if they're naughty or nice. The elves have been giving them some slack, and so, you know, most of them are on the good list, but this toy Santa would be like, no, they did one bad thing and they get the naughty list. It's time for lumps of coal. Coal time. And he just starts establishing a dictatorship. Is it dictatorship or authoritativeness? What is it? What's the difference? Can you let me know what the difference is in the comments below? What type of totalitarian regime? Is that the type of thing that's happening here in this movie? Yeah, he just starts abusing the elves, dude. He's leading through fear. He takes a tiny little guy, a toy soldier, makes him bigger, and then duplicates them. And I'm like, no! Santa Claus needs to get here. Scott has got the girl, convinced to let her be his wife. Let her be his wife. Does that work in pronoun? They're wiving up. They're being married, okay? She agreed to marry him, which is nice and sweet. Right in time for him to come in and stop all this freaking nonsense happening with this freaking toy Santa that he, dumbly enough, let happen. Also, it's fun. This movie's fun. I feel like this movie is better than what people give credit for. When I was looking this movie up, just to see the year and such, it has a 5 on IMDb. This is a good movie. I mean, it ends in a nice, happy ending. We have freaking Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus, and they're gonna be the Clauses together. And I'm just honestly intrigued. I want to know her thoughts on becoming fat like Mrs. Claus. She is skinny now. What is her process going to be like? I guess that's why it has a 5 on IMDb. Personally, I would not give it as low as a 5, but I have some questions. Let me know what she thinks about her getting fat, just like you did in the first Santa Claus movie with Scott getting fat and having to deal with transforming into a Santa Claus. Does she transform into a Mrs. Claus herself? Does she have the whole obese treatment? I mean, she could probably become Mrs. Claus really easily without the help of magic by eating, but that requires her to really engorge herself. I think just magic could just do fine. Oh boy, this movie is fun. This movie has some great holiday spirit. It makes me happy, and I like this movie a lot. This movie has some funny moments. Nothing that I could really think of on the top of my head. Nothing that really was like, oh, wow, it happened. Wow, I can't believe that I saw this in a movie. I have to mention this scene so specifically because it's awesome, right? Nothing like that happened, but I just think it's a fun, family-friendly film and deals with teenage angst, which is fun. Also, eventually, Charlie gets over himself, which is nice, but I kind of want a more nuanced version of getting over himself. That's what I crave from this movie. This is a fun and fun movie. I just crave a little bit more from it. So I gotta give this movie like a solid 6.3 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The platform really likes that. If you want to fast track a movie review, you can do that for $20 Dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grind of all them daily movie reviews, you can go to this link tree. You find the way you can help support the daily grind of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here. And until next time, Mint Salad Saw, I'll see you later, my salad croutons and big bits.